Hey, alumni friends, welcome to another NHCC Alumni Coffee Break. Always my favorite day of the week, and today we get to talk with Henrik Petaisto, a great friend of mine. Henrik, I have so many fond memories of you at the college. We met in a business relations class where you had to do service learning, and you ended up being this uber volunteer, so vested in your community, so happy to help others, and I am immensely proud of you. You've ended up being an incredibly successful teacher in Finland, and so this will mark one of the first interviews we've had that would be across international lines, so to speak. So welcome to the NHCC Coffee Break, Henrik.
Thank you, Troy. Nice to see you and nice to talk to you. It's
Yeah.
been a while.
Henrik and I, my friends, haven't probably connected now in a couple of years like
Mm,
this,
mm.
just because of the distance. And he and I were having a couple great chuckles about our last Skype call. That was more than a little challenging for us to make that work. But gosh, and Henrik, we have got to start with, I knew you would be a teacher back then. You just are so in touch with the students. You're so giving of yourself. You are a great intellectual. I love reading your messages to me. They're always insightful and always have these amazing references. So tell our audience about, I know this was amazing to me. You are a part-time instructor, but audience, Henrik has 120 students and you're teaching in a lot of different venues. So fill us in on that.
Okay. Well, it's all thanks to you, Troy. You inspired me in many ways when I was back at North Hennepin, and especially the Student Volunteer Service Club, and those people that were involved with us there. I think it gave kind of the motivation to follow a path, working with people, interacting with people. And for a while, I was actually considering journalism, but then I ended up opting for teaching.
Yes.
And well, my first teaching job here in Oulu was working as a Spanish teacher, believe it or not. It was something I picked up in Florida before moving to Minnesota. And well, that was actually just once a week. And I would come in on Thursday mornings and share some insights on Spanish and the culture and United States, being it's also a very big thing there, the Chicano population and everything.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I had something to share there, even though of course my own background is Finnish, and Finland is in its own way rather far. The name Finland actually comes from French being at the end of the land. And then I continued. I got a job at the university teaching part-time here. We actually live just about 500 meters away from the university here, and I started teaching business students and students of engineering, and well, I've really been enjoying teaching, and I've continued with both these schools, the middle school students and also the university students. Most of them are first and second year.
Wow. Wow. And you are actually a citizen of three countries. So the US and Finland, you have a connection because of your dad with Canada.
Yeah, my dad was born in Vancouver,
Yeah.
and well, they moved actually to California then soon after that, and then to Michigan where I was born. And well, then we were in Finland for a little while, actually, where my sister was born, and then we moved back to the States.
You are a man of the world, and it's always been inspiring to me how easily you've been able to transition. And I marvel at your career too. I know that you served in the Finnish army in the
Yes.
military for a number of years as a part of your Finnish citizenship, and I just am immensely proud of you. And I wanted the audience to know that part of your life as well.
Yeah, it was actually one year that I was there,
Yeah,
and I was serving as a medic.
gosh. And I knew you'd always gravitate toward teaching. You just
Mhm.
have this instinct, and like I said, an intellectualism, but you're very accessible to students. You are deeply committed to helping, and I'm not surprised at all that in Florida you picked up Spanish. And I think that's inspiring that you picked up another language even as an adult and are leveraging that and giving of yourself to your students in that respect. And off camera, we had an incredible conversation about just the dynamics of the pandemic and kind of this idea, right, of how do we connect.
Mm.
And I thought you had some incredible insights on how you go about doing that. But let's start with this. Maybe talk a little bit about, I mean, in the US, as you know, and specifically for our alums at North Hennepin Community College, we're online 92%. There's just a few classes. Those are mainly your biology and chemistry labs that, dictate, a more hands-on approach, but mostly everything is remote learning. And
Mm.
share with our alumni audience what remote learning looks like in Finland.
Well, we can start with the university students, being that we're actually doing remote learning right now. Um, we use Zoom, and just like we're right now,
Yeah.
we meet. With some of my university students, it's looking at black screens, unfortunately, so there's not that interaction, which of course I miss from the classroom.
Yeah.
But we've actually with my ITBS course, which is a brief um, abbreviation of Integrated Text and Business Studies, we have a business forum where I invite these so-called panelists, and they get to pretend to be experts. And we talk about current issues, COVID-19 being one of them.
Yeah.
So in a way, it has allowed for new opportunities, reaching out. In fact, off camera, we were talking also about this opportunity of inviting some guest speakers, which I think is promising.
Yeah.
But then with the younger students, it was a bit of a challenge last spring, being not everyone has necessarily access at home to all the same technologies, all the same internet connections. And so in Finland, what they've actually decided this fall is that they would have in-class teaching at least as much as we can. And so that's why we've been teaching in the classroom now.
Wow. Wow. And are you seeing, so you'll be remote for the spring. Are there some
Right.
other challenges that you'll feel you'll need to address? I mean, I really zeroed in on, this engagement thing, right? Where
Hmm.
you and I and we both, I taught for a while, so we have that common ground, right? Where we're looking at how can we
Yeah.
engage people over Zoom. You see the black screens, the muted
Mm.
response and a diminished interaction. How can we leverage this to get to meaningful learning? And what would be your thoughts on that for the spring? What have you learned from the fall that might be a new approach in the spring?
Mm. That is a good question. I think trying to be available is, of course, one thing. Then there's the side of trying to maintain some sort of a balance between your own personal life,
Yes.
being there for my wife, not just for my students.
Yes.
But I think it comes down to compassion. At least one of the main lessons from the spring for me was compassion. You
Yeah.
need to be compassionate, and you need to really allow for the fact that, okay, you're not going to be able to do everything that you do in the classroom online. At the same time, of course, there are the opportunities, but I think self-compassionate approach, where we kind of allow for that space to just be who we are as human beings, and maybe not try to always exceed expectations, even
Yes.
though that's also great to do. But I think being compassionate towards each other and towards ourselves is probably the biggest takeaway from last spring, and I definitely will continue with that approach next spring as well.
Yeah, and maybe understanding better the perspectives of what other people are feeling, knowing
Yeah,
what students are going through, maybe more interaction
for
over
sure.
email and private Zoom,
Yeah.
almost living in an advisory capacity. checking the analytics side of it, right? I mean, what are
Mm,
the challenges that each student faces? Are there commonalities, and how might that be integrated into your teaching structure?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been interesting. We use Moodle. I don't know what kind of
Yeah, I've heard of it.
learning. Okay,
Yeah,
so we use that, and of course I'm able to follow how my students are participating, how often they're checking in, and this kind of thing. And so that allows me to kind of gauge what's the level of participation there. But yeah, I think probably what's most important is letting students know in the beginning that you're there. If they need to reach out, you're available, um, and making them feel comfortable making mistakes as well. Just as important in the classroom as while doing remote learning.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and creating a more of a community where you're learning together.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, for sure.
absolutely. Well, no interview would be complete, Henrik, without a talk of nostalgia. So, how about naming a memorable moment at North Hennepin for you?
Hmm. Now you put me on the spot. um,
Your favorite instructor, maybe we could do that.
hmm. Well, I would have to say it was you, Troy.
Oh, no, thank you.
Um, I mean, working with you. I mean, I interned with you for a while, so I got to kind of see your eight to four life there at NHCC, and of course, we had a chance to visit with each other as well outside of that. But
Yes,
you have been an inspiration for me for sure,
thank you.
and I think your heart and your capacity to be compassionate, your capacity to reach out to other people is something that had a tremendous effect on me. Of course, the Student Volunteer Service Club was one manifestation of that, and that you were able to be out there for us. That was really meaningful.
Those were the days, Henrik. I miss those days deeply. You all were amazing in your hearts too, and giving back to the community and helping others. And we forged some really powerful friendships during
Mm.
those times that have transcended a lot. And I'm deeply humbled because you're my hero too, man.
Well, that's thanks to you.
I'm amazed at what you've accomplished, my friend, and I know that you are going to be just an inspiring instructor that will quickly probably rise past part time, even though 120 students. That's I don't know how part time it is, my friend, but I know that we're going to be hearing amazing things about Henrik Petaisto and his journeys. Hopefully, Henrik, you'll be willing to join us in the future. Maybe a follow up coffee break just to let us know how you're doing, and it would be wonderful.
Why not?
I think so too. So definitely we'll check in again. My friends, I give you Henrik Petaisto on the Alumni Coffee Break. Tune in every Tuesday when we will visit with another incredible NHCC alum. For now, it's Troy, the alumni guy, signing off along with my good friend Henrik. Bye for now.
Thank you.